Well, you have been called. You have been called to be brave. We're jumping right in with both feet here, okay? We're going to see ourselves thriving in 2025, being brave, being honest. Our theme, as I said before, is live your best life. And it is in full gear right now because for the next month, we are going to be doing Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 agreements. Okay? Yeah. Now, how many have read this and it's just going to be a review for you? I saw some hands go down on that, a review for you. Okay. And how many of you have never, ever read the book or anything about it? Just give me an idea here. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you for your honesty. You're brave. All right. So, I'm going to be sharing with you Toltec wisdom and knowledge. That's Don Miguel Ruiz, this whole idea of the 4 agreements. Now, this Toltec wisdom and knowledge has been known throughout southern Mexico for thousands of years. And as we unravel all of this, you are going to see that it goes along with unity principles. It's all one. We get to see a different view of wisdom, the wisdom of the ages, a little bit of a Mexican twist on things, let's say. Another way to bring about the truth of who we are, the expression of God in action. The 4 agreements help us develop our Christ consciousness, which allows us to live the life that Jesus demonstrated. And Don Miguel Ruiz says that we actually live in a dream. It's a smokescreen of sorts. We don't actually see who we are and who others are all the time. There's this little smokescreen that keeps us from knowing who we are and knowing who we can be. And we grow up with a lot of things that should words in our lives. I should behave. The 4 agreements are here to give us profound ways to get rid of that smoke screen so that we can see who we truly are, which allows us to be brave. This week, we're exploring the very first agreement, which is being impeccable with your word. Now, Don Miguel says this is the hardest one of all because it's an agreement that's hard to honor. There's so much to say about this chapter. I could keep you for a couple of hours. But I'm going to sum it up in 15 to 20 minutes, okay? So stay with me. I'll try to keep it moving here. But there's so much in it. Being impeccable with your word speaks of integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using words that speak against yourself or gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Being impeccable with your word means using your words carefully and truthfully. It means not saying things to hurt others and to remind us of the importance of keeping promises to ourselves and to others. So don't say things that you don't mean. Integrity means doing the right thing no matter how hard it is. It's about making good choices because it's the right thing to do. Seeing through that dream of I'm afraid to be who I am. I might look like a fool. Seeing through that smokescreen so that you can be who you are meant to be in word, in thought, and in action. That's what we mean when we say make our insides and outsides match. We might be feeling one thing on the inside and say something else on the outside to please somebody. Your word, Don Miguel says, is a force. And we hear in John's gospel, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word is God. It's the power we have to communicate, to express who we are, to create all the events in our lives by the way that we look at life. It is the most powerful tool we have as humans. Think about that. And yet it's a double-edged sword. One side of the sword misuses words. The other side creates beauty and love. Don Miguel calls our word magic. We either speak a spell of white magic, which brings us heaven on earth, or we speak a spell of black magic, which is hell. If I want to spread white magic, I will express love in my interactions with you. I will be impeccable with my word. And when I do that, those actions will produce a reaction. We give love, we receive love. If I use words to express anger and resentment and envy and hate, I'm really spreading personal poison. And I create chaos in the world. The person who is mean spreads personal poison and is actually in hell within themselves. Because we are not made to be in hell. We are made to be in heaven on earth. So what do we want to spread? White magic or black magic? You know when you're spreading black magic, even when you're thinking it. If you're feeling resentful or judgmental or you're complaining about yourself or another, you're not happy, you know that. Don Miguel calls that black magic. I never really thought about how powerful that is, that word magic. And him using that puts a different spin on it, doesn't it? Puts a power in there, because that's what he's trying to get across to us. So you were created to be nothing but love, white magic, loving yourself and loving others. Why? Because Jesus said so. And that's all you need to know. That's it. Yeah. Don Miguel speaks of it all starting with something that he calls domestication. And that domestication is, as children, we don't have the opportunity to choose our beliefs. And as a result, we believe everything we're taught, whether it's verbal or whether it's through actions. Children don't miss a trick, but they don't know how to interpret it. So what they do is they believe it to be who they are. And these beliefs are passed on generation after generation, and that's how we learn to live our lives. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, teachers, even the religion we grew up in, all teach us how to behave. Oh, you're a good boy or a good girl or a bad boy or a bad girl. And we believe it because we have no reference point. We are being programmed to be a certain way. And what happens, and this is why it's called the 4 agreements, because we're going to change the agreements we've made with ourselves, is we come into agreement that these people must be right. And we've got all these agreements going on in our heads. And you know, at other times we talk about the ego, and that's how that starts, right? All these agreements we don't even know we've made. We're just living our life. I'll never forget when I was in graduate school and a Jesuit priest, I was in a Catholic school, and he asked me why I was a Catholic. And I started to try to tell him. It wasn't making much sense. And he's just looking at me. He's just looking at me. And then I finally said, it's all I've known. So then he asked me a question. Do you agree with everything that the Catholic Church says? And I go, no. No, in fact, a lot of times I call myself a Catholic with reservation, you know. And he said to me, good for you. Good for you. You need to question. And you need to make your own decision. And now I'm a Unity minister. So, yeah, so that's what happened. So it's when we wake up and we realize that we can make decisions. We can change anything we want, any agreement we have, but we have to be in touch with the agreement first, right? We have to believe that we deserve only the best in our lives. And I'm not talking about selfishness best. I'm not talking about out there. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in here. We deserve the best. And yet we are raised with ideas that we need to be pleasers. Somebody asks us to do something. I've done this many times. Not anymore, but I used to. Oh, it'll make them feel better. It's better. I think I'll do it. No, I'm not being impeccable with my word at all. I'm pleasing somebody so that they will think I'm good. I'm pleasing somebody so that they will think I'm perfect. I'm pleasing somebody so that they won't realize that inside me, I don't think I'm good enough. But when we wake up and we know who we are, the light of God, we can be impeccable with our word and understand what Jesus came to teach. Don Miguel makes it very clear. If you want to practice integrity, you cannot make assumptions. You can't make assumptions about yourself, and you can't make assumptions about others, and you have to communicate clearly with your ego. Get out of the way. That's not who I am. And then we deal with people every day in our lives through emails and text messages, right? And we send them and receive them, and we try to communicate the best we can about whatever job we're doing. And how many of you have sent messages and they were not received the way you wanted them to be received? Show your hands. Yeah, who has their hand down? You are perfect. Oh my gosh, wow. So we have to be clear and concise when we're talking to other people, and it's even harder for me, when it's an email or a text. Because I'm typing away and I think I'm getting my point across and I'm being as clear as ever, and I look down and autocorrect has just jumped in where it's not invited. Oh, yeah, and it's changed things. And I don't even see them all the time, and then I send it out. That's even better. Okay. So a lot of my communication goes on here, and thank God all these people know me, right? And thank God for Jesse, because I communicate a lot with him, and he is so good at it. I mean, yeah. He's young. He's really young. And so I try to send something to him, and I go, no, that was autocorrect. No, that was, no. Jesse, I have to talk to you. And then he's very good, very patient. And so that shows you domestication in a good way. He was taught somewhere along the line to respect his elders. Yeah. How about this one? I love this one. We need to have a meeting. Yeah, wait. What's a good time for you? And it's sent out to 5 people. I love that one, because you have to wait for the person to see it because they're busy. Then you have to wait for them to respond the days that they're free, and you get them all back. I don't know the answer to this, by the way. I just know it goes on and on. But I do know this, that we are responsible for whatever we communicate. Notice how short we make those communications because we're so busy. And sometimes it takes the personal out of it. And to avoid misunderstandings, we have to ask clarifying questions. We have to be brave. We can't feel like we're a fool because we didn't understand something that somebody said. And we have the responsibility to respect the person when they ask for clarifying questions, to give it to them and to understand. If we don't do that, we start personalizing things. Now, this is Don Miguel Ruiz speaking, because next week we're going to go into don't take anything personally. Okay? That's going to be fun next week. Don't miss it. Okay. So he says go directly to the person because we are not robots. We do need one another. So if we're not able to communicate clearly through an email, through a text, whatever, don't be afraid to call the person, even though some people say I don't talk on the phone. Do it anyway. Be brave. Because here's what happens. When we don't have clear communication, Don Miguel Ruiz says, then we gossip. And when we gossip, it's because it stems from fear. Fear of not looking like I'm perfect. So I'm going to gossip about this person because I've made an assumption, because something isn't clear. And the fear comes from, I don't want to be rejected because somehow I've been rejected many times in my life by myself and by others. So do you see why Don Miguel Ruiz says it is the most difficult to honor? We really have to be in touch with our words. And it's funny, you know, some of you know Don Miguel Ruiz was here about, I guess, was it 4 or 5 years ago? He's been here twice, but the last time, when was that? You don't know. Okay. That's about 4 years. About 4 years ago. And you know what he said? I have to tell you, this is so funny. My husband was in charge of taking Don Miguel Ruiz to the, where he was staying, you know, at the hotel. And the boys were here and they were talking, but, you know, he's older and he's struggling with his heart. So Gary's saying, what am I going to say to this man? I don't know what I'm going to say. He's so holy. He's so, wow. Here's what Don Miguel Ruiz said. The longer I live, the more I know there's not much to say. And Gary was free. So you measure the impeccability of your word by the level of self-love. How much you love yourself and how you feel about yourself is in direct proportion to the quality and the integrity of your word. And when you're impeccable with your word, you know it, you feel good, you feel happy, you feel at peace. Here's what I do know. We are all inherently good because we are made in the image and the likeness of God. We are all looking for the same thing. We want to give love and we want to receive love. We want to be accepted for who we are wherever we are right now. And when that happens, we can grow. When that happens, we feel trust. We can trust one another and we begin to trust ourselves even more. And right now in this moment, you can make a new agreement with yourself. To love yourself, flaws and all. You can become aware of when you're feeling like you want to spread a little black magic. When you're feeling that you want to get into a temper tantrum or a power play, or that you feel like you're justified in being angry. But you have the power to make a new agreement that says, no, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to stop. And I'm going to ask myself, do I want to spread love or not? Do I want to spread white magic or black magic? One leads to personal freedom, to success and abundance, doesn't it? And the other is fear. But if we can stay with that, that abundance will take away the fear. And it actually transforms us to live your best life. The other keeps us in hell, self-punishment. And we are in misery and pass that along to people. Have you ever been around somebody who's like that and you're like, I can't be around them? I just can't do it. But I don't know how to get away. I need to be kind because I want them to think I'm perfect and I can't be, It goes on and on. What we tell ourselves. Make a new agreement to love yourself. Integrity relates to all the tenets of the unity principles. And these principles speak clearly of honesty for self and others. That taking ownership of our words ensures accountability, and for the impact of our words, we grow. We grow within ourselves. It speaks of alignment, ensuring that our spoken word aligns with our values, and that promotes authenticity. When we're aligned, we allow the unity principles to be taken in, and they become a part of us. They're not just something we know how to say and throw out when we need to. Oh, this unity principle says this. No. Unity principle number 3 today says, thoughts create our reality. In other words, your thoughts shape your experiences. Positive thinking leads to positive outcome. Negative thinking leads to results that challenge us, challenge our joy, challenge our peace, and of course, love. So it's all about shifting from a powerless place to an empowerment place. So, we become responsible really for aligning our future with our thoughts and our actions. And our book study talks about it often. I wish when I was a little kid I knew this. And these kids that are over here right across the lawn, look how blessed they are. They're doing the 4 agreements too on their level this month. How blessed they are to know this, because we say as older adults in this book study, oh my God, this is going to go on forever, this learning. And Don Miguel Ruiz says, change the agreement with yourself if you want to be in integrity with who you are. Reframe how you want to communicate to yourself. Don't look at that mirror and start saying negative things about yourself, because it's not the truth. Remember, it's a smoking mirror. It's a glass that's not clear. There's no need for you to be defensive. There's no need for you to be upset with who you are. You were created in love. There is no right and wrong, only neutral. We think we have free will. I love this. Don Miguel goes into it. We think we have free will, but we don't have free will at all. Why? Because of all the agreements. We don't even know the agreements we have. Next week, we're going to talk about those a little bit more. Remember, there is no rush. We're rushing around in our lives, but there's no rush within us. Take your time to sort out your feelings in spite of your domestication. Take time. Being impeccable with your word is about taking responsibility for your language and using it to create a positive impact for yourself. Do you hear that? You come first. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. He wasn't kidding. You have to love yourself. You have to put aside that ego that is so right there ready to tell you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're ugly, you're fat, you're old, whatever. So this week, I want you to become aware of your words to yourself. I want you to be impeccable with your word to yourself. I have a handout for you to use to help you break free from those agreements because they don't serve you anymore. And I encourage you to buy the book so you can read the entire chapter. We have some of them in the bookstore now. Don't knock each other down running to get them. I don't think they have 100 and some, okay? Yeah. So let this week be a week where you really start this new year loving yourself and being aware when you're not being impeccable with your word to yourself. When you do that, life opens up. Life opens up. So join me in a closing prayer right now. Let's align ourselves with the energy of God's good. Let's come into a self-awareness where we become God in action. We become the light. We become empowered to spread love. And we see that awareness, and it allows us to break free of old agreements. We're so grateful right now in this moment for the awareness that we can change an agreement in this moment. And we can continue to cultivate the light of God that is within us so that we can take that and spread that in the most beautiful and wonderful of ways. Grateful, grateful, grateful. And so it is. Amen.